episode 0 of a show is, what is episode 0 of a show, Mike? Tell me, since you're the expert.
Episode 0 is the episode you drop in there to validate the feed with iTunes. So it becomes a real thing.
But what do you say or do, or, I mean, do you intro the show or some shit?
We're saying it right now.
Can I curse?
We're doing it right now. Fuck yeah, you can curse.
Fucking shit! Welcome to Movieisms, where we say shit!
We've already marked this feed as explicit.
Great!
Okay, so...
Let's have less people listen because they're not old enough. Or offended by language.
I hate to break it to you, man. Kids are not listening to podcasts. They don't listen to anything unless it's on YouTube.
Right.
Watching something that you're listening to makes no sense to me, but that's what they do. That and SoundCloud. And they do listen on SoundCloud. They listen to things on SoundCloud, but only music by rappers that you've never heard of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to put this up on YouTube. At some point.
Okay.
Not this one. Episode 0 stays in the ether.
Yeah. I feel like we jumped right in and nobody knows
what is Movieisms? By the way, I'm Bradley Kingston, a.k.a. Balding Ewok.
Yes, and I'm Michael Bekemeyer, a.k.a. Bekemeyer.
Nothing. Yeah.
I'm a.k.a. Bekemeyer.
You don't have an a.k.a.
And you're listening to what is
Movieisms.
Our primer episode for Movieisms.
In a world where one man and one half man get together and talk bullshit about movies.
Hold on. I just want to clarify that you're the half man.
Movieisms.
I don't want them to think that I'm the half man.
Yes.
Actually, if you add both of us up, I'm fat and you're short, so we're still like 2 people.
I guess.
If you balance us out.
If you combined our weight.
I'm actually not that fat.
No. You're a fat head.
I quit doing the podcast with you now.
Okay.
All right. So, Movieisms. Movieisms is a podcast that we started because we wanted to talk about movies. We have another podcast that we do called Film Reverie because we're also filmmakers and we talk to other filmmakers about filmmaking. But we kept finding ourselves, as we have for the 20-plus years that we've known each other, always talking about that movie and this movie and what we liked about a movie and what we didn't like about a movie and how it related to our life. And when I was thinking about what kind of show we might want to do, I personally wanted to do something that was a little more about the religious experience I have when I go to the movies. Like it's more like a ritualistic thing. Like,
I guess
for me, and I tell people a lot, going to movie is like going to the movie theater is kind of like going to church.
Yeah,
for me.
you said this is church for movies.
Yeah, it's church for movies.
Well, I don't get that.
Well, for me,
I hate church.
I do look at it like, yeah, but think about it, Brad. Movies, we can talk. Movies make it possible so you can talk about anything. You can talk about love, hate, sex, religion, politics, all that stuff. And you go there and it's like sort of you go into the room, you sit down, you watch something like you do when you're at church. And for me, it's like I don't go to church either, but for me, going to watch a movie is kind of like my going to church because I'm very ritualistic about it. I do it at least once a week, and it's like decompressing for me. Yeah. It's like I can decompress from my daily life. I come out feeling renewed, even if I see a movie that I don't like. And often I will go see a movie that I don't really want to see just to go to the theater and see something.
Yeah, is it like communion? Because you get food and drink.
Yeah, you have snacks.
Yeah.
Yeah, just like communion.
The movie theater we were at the other day has wine.
Yeah.
And corn dog nuggets, so that could be the body of
what a great combo,
Christ,
man.
I guess.
Were you eating your corn dog nuggets by the fistful and holding your wine with the pinky out? Movieisms. But you also added to what we talked about doing here by defining the word movieisms.
Yes. Anytime movies or films have bleed into your real life.
Yeah.
For example, we have this thing that we got from, the Mexican?
The Mexican.
Anytime somebody who shouldn't be able to do something somehow miraculously fumbles through it, we say, that guy Forrest Gumped his way through that.
Yeah, I normally say, Brad, you Forrest Gumped your way through this.
Yes.
Because you're always Forrest Gumping your way through things.
So, to me, that is like one... I have two different meanings. That's like the main meaning.
Yeah, it's like using a movie to help define your life.
Yeah.
Or that moment in time.
Right. So, or if you act out a movie or do a quote from a movie, if movies have infiltrated your life, that's movieism.
Yeah. I've learned a lot about humanity. I've learned a lot about people that are nothing like me by watching documentaries.
Yes. Gee, I wonder what black people are like. Let's watch this movie.
That's like, she gotta have it. She's gotta have it. Yeah, like you really do. You can see other parts of the world just 5 minutes from your house at the movie theater. And I have learned a lot about... Movies have opened my mind up to other things, that I might not have naturally gravitated towards because I grew up in the white people suburbs of, Orlando, Florida.
Movies educate you. They help make you more tolerant. They expose you to situations that you might not have ever thought about being. And like that, something I said before was that I've learned life lessons from watching movies and made decisions, like life-altering decisions, that if this ever happens to me, I'm going to do this. And I've had those things come, and I'm like, I already made that decision.
If bald Lawrence Fishburne ever shows up wearing a black leather trench coat, I'm going to take the
red pill.
The red pill. Like, that's a life lesson for you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, it's annoying to other people, I'm sure, but I relate everything to The Matrix.
It's not annoying to me because I do very similar things. So, in very much like the way people quote the Bible.
Yeah.
Or a poem or some sort of a book. Like, we quote movies.
Yeah.
I think that
that's our religion.
It's sort of like our religion.
It's our church.
And
I
know that may sound sacrilegious, but because it's not that I don't believe in God or have a faith or anything like that. I just don't necessarily like congregating at a church.
Well, and it gets to be the same thing over and over because I've noticed after a year went by when I was in church, they started recycling around the same time the same lessons. I'm like, I heard this before.
Yeah, I heard this before. Yeah.
And then I start coming up with scenes in my head of ninjas jumping through the rafters and whatever. And I have attention deficit disorder.
Yeah, I'm surprised you made it a whole year before your ADD kicked in.
No, it was every time. I can barely make it through.
When I'm talking to you, you make it about 29 seconds before.
We're going through verses in church, and I have to read the same line over and over because I'm like, what? Anyway,
so our show is going to be weekly. We're going to talk. Most likely, we'll end up talking about a movie that just came out or a movie that we just saw, and then sort of how that ties into like the thing we want to do for Avengers when it comes out in a few days.
Yeah.
Is we're going to talk about that, and we don't really consider, at least I don't consider myself a film critic or anything like that. I don't like critiquing movies. I like talking about what I did and didn't like about a movie, but in a non-film critic-y sort of way.
And we're going to recommend movies. If we've seen something and we think it's good, we're going to tell you.
Yeah.
And, I particularly want to let people know about movies that are streaming, like Netflix or Amazon Prime or Hulu, because I look for the kind of movies that aren't the copy and paste. I like finding things that are different and you haven't seen that before. So I'm gonna do my best. Both of us are gonna try and bring your attention to things you may not have known about.
Because honestly, we're having these conversations anyway. Now we're just going to record them.
Yes.
And make it a podcast. So stay tuned. Stay tuned. I hate saying stay tuned. I only hate saying it because I know it sets you off.
Stay tuned.
So keep your eye out for our subsequent episodes. You can subscribe. If you're hearing this podcast now, that means you can subscribe in iTunes or follow us on SoundCloud, which is soundcloud.com/movieisms. You can follow us on Twitter at Movieisms Pod or Instagram at Movieisms. Or you can just follow me and Brad, which is actually where I spend most of my time on Twitter. I'm Bekemeyer, and he's Balding Ewok.
Yep.
And we look forward to we actually do look forward to having this conversation with people.
Yes.
Because I love talking about this stuff, and it is very philosophical to me. We have deep discussions about movies that you would think, why are they? It's like I can go on for an hour about what's so great about The Big Lebowski.
Or like life lessons you can learn from it.
Yeah, from the dude. The dudisms. Like,
Dudisms?
Dude, yeah. There's a whole thing. It's a whole thing. Anyway, the Tao of the Dude.
Oh, we got to rename the podcast now.
The Tao of the Dude. No, so...
scratch this.
So, keep an eye out. We will talk to you again soon. We'll see you next week.
Yes.
And follow along. We'll talk to you soon.